Pokémon Day, that special time of year where we celebrate the anniversary of the whole series, and it has become a custom to anticipate the release of a Pokémon Presents that would announce boring Pokémon stuff a percentage of the fanbase actually cares about, and ending off with one final reveal of their biggest project of the year. And after a whole year of the mere existence of Scarlet and Violet content, it's about damn time we got something new. As always, there were a ton of rumors and supposed leaks discussing what would be announced for this event, and the two possibilities that were being thrown around were a return to the Unova region and a return to the Johto region. Personally, I don't want any of these to actually happen because I love my precious Unova region too much to see them butcher it somehow, but I like the Johto region. But I never want to go back to the Kanto region in a main series game again. Please. But the unthinkable happened. 10 minutes, 52 seconds. Confidential information. Plans for an urban redevelopment. The plans would then come into light. We follow Pikachu around this place. We see some Kalos Pokemon. We see a lot of Kalos Pokemon. And then BAM! Lumio's tower right there. Scheduled freak out. Because it's literally a return to the Kalos region. All of Lumiose gets displayed, and it's official. Pokemon Legends Z-A, Z-A, Z-A? What do I call this? Oh, this news made me so incredibly happy. I mean, for eons, we're talking eons, we have reminisced of Game Freak having plans about making a sequel for the original Kalos region, and they just tossed it aside because they wanted to have a new generation ready for the 20th anniversary. A whole region wrongly done by the likes of a generation that would have a good story, take a look at that story, and say, we're Pokemon, we're not supposed to tell good stories, and absolutely ruin the game that followed after that. But I'm going off topic, because what truly matters here is my beloved Kalos region is back. And honestly, and I'm being serious, way before all this was announced, I truly knew that if there was something that needed the Legends treatment like Sinnoh got, it was definitely Kalos, with so many questions that those two games left us with. So for today, let's talk about what to expect from these games. We know that they are Legends titles that apparently take place completely in the Lumio City area, and we even know that Mega Evolutions are making a return in these titles. But what features or mechanics could we expect to arrive from Pokémon X and Y, as well as from Legends Arceus? Well, let's start off the bat with Mega Evolution, the battle mechanic which alone makes me so happy to see return, but the question here is whether we will see new Mega Evolutions introduced to the games. The last time we got new Mega Evolutions was back in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and the thing is, we've had Mega Evolutions return for Generation 7, but no new ones were introduced. Yet I have the feeling that we will indeed be getting new Mega Evolutions, mainly because of how crucial Mega Evolution will likely play in the Kalos story, but also because I've been developing a new theory. You remember the Mega Flygon debacle, right? They say they were having artist block on a Mega Flygon design, despite a ton of people easily making a design for it. But my theory is that they actually delayed any follow-up Kalos titles from happening until they got that damn Mega Flygon design right. It just all makes sense when you think about it. Now, despite my expectations of new Mega Evolutions, what is the fate of new regional variants of past Pokemon? Every game, even outside of Legends, has introduced new regional versions of the older Pokemon, and I feel like no matter what the status is with Mega Evolution, we will still get plenty of regional forms since we are likely going through a different time period of the Kalos region. Which brings up an interesting question. From the trailer, we definitely had a sense of the past with the redevelopment plan, but there was also this feeling of the future with the design coming to life and seeing all of the Pokemon and people living together. So the question is, will this game take place in the future? And it's a heavy discussion I've had with many friends, and there have been some cool theories thrown around that would actually be kind of interesting. Someone mentioned the idea of starting in the present future Kalos region and something happening to where we are backtracking through time, arriving at a specific point in the past, which would make the Z-A part of the game's name actually make sense from the end to the beginning. There is also the A, meaning Alpha, representing Arceus somehow playing a role through all of this and maybe being responsible for us going back into the past. Overall though, I'm actually going to play it safe and say I expect the whole game to take place in the past, and maybe there's a scene in the beginning or the end of the game where it showcases Kalos of the future. Now, the 6th generation introduced quite a few mechanics and features that remain exclusive to the generation. Starting with Pokemon Me, this was a place where you could interact with Pokemon on your team, give them Pokepuffs, play with them, decorate their place, and even participate in fun minigames minigames involving berries, puzzles, and a ball of yarn. Honestly, I really don't see reason why Pokémon can't return. It's just a fun way to let players interact with Pokemon in the game and could be easily implemented. I am a tiny bit doubtful about the return of the minigames, but if they do return, oh, I will be very happy. There was also the addition of Super Training, this place where you participated in another minigame involving soccer balls, goals, and balloon Pokemon, so you could get these punching bags to help improve various conditions of a Pokemon, such as effort values for their stats, raising their happiness, improving your performance in the next minigame round, and etc. Overall, it would be kind of cool to see this make a return, and it's actually quite possible for them to just add this sort of minigame in the same fashion that they had the balloon popping in Legends Arceus, but Super Training itself making a return, I'm gonna say not gonna happen. Pokémon X and Y also introduced some new ways to battle against Pokémon. For wild Pokémon, it was the introduction of horde battles, where your one Pokémon would go up against a horde of Pokémon. They weren't difficult to go up against, but they were an interesting take to battling wild Pokémon. Apparently, it's an easy way to find shiny Pokémon as well, but since I've never found a shiny Pokémon in horde battles, that's clearly misinformation that has never been factually proven. I will say, it would be neat to see a scenario where if you engage in a wild battle with one Pokémon and there are Pokemon of the same species close by, they could just jump into the battle as well, as a new take on horde battles. But I will admit, I don't expect this to be a feature that makes a return, but you never know. I could have just leaked how horde battles actually work in the games to you guys. My statement to Game Freak's lawyers? Then there were Sky Battles, special battles that are only engaged when you confirm it with a trainer, but basically it's a battle where only Pokemon who are flying type or are able to levitate off the ground can participate. It honestly was not a great addition, felt like one of those things that could have been done better, but the fact that it was voluntary made this one of those things that were kind of just one and done. You did get a medal if you were able to do all the Sky Battles, so maybe you could set it up similarly in this game, so I am indeed going to say that I do expect this to return, despite what I said previously about this being bad. Now, there was one more battle style in these games that I almost forgot about: inverse battles. Just as the name says, weaknesses and resistances are reversed, where something that is super effective is now not very effective and vice versa. There was only one trainer who participated in the battle, but this was actually a really interesting shakeup from the normal battles. I mean, having to reverse engineer everything you knew about Pokemon battles to figure out your opponent's Pokemon as well as your own. It's kind of cool. Unfortunately, I just don't see why they would want to bring this feature back, unless this game really does take place in the future and that same person has developed an entire battle facility where these battles take place in, and once you're on the field, it inverses the Pokemon on both sides of the battle. Game Freak, I swear, these are not leaks, they're coincidences. Another thing X and Y introduced were roller skates. Oh, the roller skates, the things you would ride if running was too slow, but you also didn't want to ride a bike. Honestly, I enjoyed the roller skates a lot more than I probably should have. I mean, riding around and even learning some tricks that you could do for some reason, that was enjoyable, even though it's a relatively minor mechanic. And I'm going to say that roller skates will be making a return because it works for either scenario. In the past, someone could say they invented the roller skates and give it to us so that we could test them out, just like Goldenrod in the bike. Or in the future, they have become so popular and maybe even upgraded to make travel more convenient. Now, because of how the 6th generation ended, there was a lot of events that were left with no true resolution. The obvious ones to bring up are AZ, his Floette, anything involving Zygarde, but I really thought about the most mysterious cases, such as the Ghost Girl of Lumiose. I talked about this in a Kaiser video, how this is just an absolutely freaky moment in Pokemon game that really has no resolution, and something makes me feel like we will finally be getting the answer we deserve about her. There were also locked buildings in Route 13 by the power plant that were just all mysteriously locked, and I also feel like we may be able to learn something about their purpose in the game, aside from them just being locked doors. Plus, this route is called the Lumiose Badlands, so it could still be considered a part of Lumiose if that's the route these games go with. There is also the war that we've heard so much about, which it's about damn time Pokemon get involved with the war. I mean, these people have been having it too easy ever since the Alola days. I know some people think that the trailer talking about redevelopment refers to them changing up the current Kalos we know, but I also think it could mean the redevelopment in a post-war Kalos. There must have been a society before the war, so now they are redeveloping the region after everything that had happened. Regardless, more Kalos lore is guaranteed. Then we have the events involving the legendaries and mythicals. Kalos is a very strange case to where there is the same number of legendaries as the number of mythicals in the generation, which is not a lot. And we really don't know much about any of these Pokemon aside from the mythicals if you watch the movies. Diance's was great, Hoopa's was alright. I didn't even watch the Volcanion one. Now, I know the legendary lore will be prepared for us, but one thing I truly enjoyed about Legends Arceus is that they did not leave out the mythicals from the games. They gave them some events in the game so you could find them and even learn a little bit more about them, which I absolutely loved. Very much hope and expect them to do the same thing here with our 3 mythical friends, and I will be referring to this later on when the game comes out. Hoopa will play a crucial but hidden role in the story, and there will be a new legendary added to the game. I'm certain of it. Finally, let's tackle the overall game itself, starting with if this game will be open world or expanded areas. Game Freak have now dabbled in both of them, and in my personal opinion, it's painfully clear which one works for them. But even beyond that, Legends Arceus felt perfect to divide the map into separate expanded areas because it could define the difference between each parts of the region and, most importantly, run the game decently. I personally would just want them to make multiple zones for each part of Lumiose and set up a hub in the center, just like how Jubilife was the place to return to after going to a zone in Legends Arceus. I know it would mean going through loading screens, but it would probably do better for the game's overall performance, which I would much prefer they prioritize for now. Then there's the interesting question multiple people have discussed with me about. Could this game introduce multiplayer? Most Pokemon games involve the concept of multiplayer with trading and battling, but more recently they've allowed ways to explore and go into the overworld with other players. Personally, I feel like these games will remain single-player experiences. There is only one version of the game, so trading wouldn't really make that much sense, and maybe multiplayer battles could be introduced, but I don't feel like it is a necessary thing for this game when you could just battle in any other game. As for exploring with others, it would be cool to do so in these games, but I also feel like the Legend series kind of works better without it. Something about experiencing the world of the past on my own just feels better than turning it into a multiplayer experiment. Maybe it's just the JRPG player in me, but that's how I feel. But overall, Legends Z-A, I'm never gonna figure this out, but the new Legends game is looking to be an exciting prospect. It's actually really wonderful talking about what could happen with these games because they feel like they have more life and potential to them in contrast to the current main series games. Plus, it's about damn time I saw a true return of my favorite pair of keys. I just locked myself out of the house, so I kind of need them. It's raining. This sucks. Anyways, I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about these games. Yeah, I know it's a rare acknowledgement of the comment section, and I guarantee everyone is all of a sudden going to be too shy to leave a comment, but now you kind of have to, because I dare you to leave a comment about what your hopes or expectations are for these new Legends games, or else the Squirtle's going to get it. And the Psyduck. No, that's going too far. I didn't say anything about the No and Mio Amiibo set.